So I believe in Illuvium, there will be 6 different type of gamers. By the end of this video, you'll be able to comment down below on which one of these categories you best fit into. Before we get started, do me a favor and click the like button and subscribe to this channel, and let's get into it. So back when I was in college, I had an exercise physiology class, and this is something that my professor used to say all the time. The Olympic gold medalist for the decathlon is recognized as the top athlete in the world, but in reality, they're just the best at being average. Now I'm gonna come back to this slide later on in the video to wrap it all up and explain more about what I'm talking about. So the 6 different types of gamers. I have them categorized as casual players, competitive players, and investors. And then those are separated into low risk and high risk. You see, by low risk, I really mean you're investing more time than money. And for high risk, you're investing more money than time. And you can also see in here that for the 4 boxes on the left, these can apply to both Web 2 and Web 3 games. But for the 2 boxes on the right, these fit more into GameFi and crypto and NFT related games. These X's are just meant to show you that you don't need to fit perfectly into one of these boxes. They all kind of fall on a spectrum, but we'll get into that a little deeper later on. So the first one we're going to look at is a casual player with low risk. And I'm calling this a Funseeker.
Whenever you can go out into the rain, do not miss the opportunity!
So the Funseeker, their main objective is entertainment. They may spend small amounts of money, but a lot of them will just be fine playing for free. In Illuvium, they're mostly going to focus on the overworld gameplay and going out and exploring the different lands and catching alluvials along the way. This type of gamer probably still plays a lot of Web 2 games. Illuvium may not be their only game. They might dabble into a few different games at the same time, but again, they're there to have fun. So for a casual high-risk player, I'm calling this the collector.
2 cards left.
Oh! We got a Charizard! We got our first Charizard of the day! Oh!
So the collector is a completionist, and one of their main goals in Illuvium is going to be to go out and catch every alluvial, and probably also get every alluvitar. That may even have land for one of each of the 7 regions. This type of player likes to do it all on their own, meaning they will pay and invest the time and money to go out into the regions to catch these alluvials themselves, but they're likely not going to be on the alluvidex buying them off of other players. And again, these players are going to focus more on the overworld and probably even alluvitars. So for the competitive low-risk player, these are going to be your esports athletes, your competitive gamers.
Holy cow, that was winner's finals.
Oh my god.
So for an esports athlete in the low-risk column are going to be the players who are truly the best at the game, because they're going to focus on being the best at what they have available to them. And in my opinion, that makes a better player than one of the next gamer types we'll get into in a minute. These players might be seeking guilds or esports teams to help fund them with better alluvials. And it's not to say that these players aren't having fun, it's just that winning is their fun. These players will spend a lot of time in the Ascendant arena. So for competitive high-risk player, I'm calling this the gambler. So the gambler is what I'm calling the high-risk competitive player, and their objective is not only to just win, but for their opponents to lose. They'll spend whatever's necessary on the game to get the best alluvials in order to compete at the highest level. Now, although these players will think they are the best at the game, they may not be as good as those esports players, but they're definitely willing to take the highest risk. These players won't spend too much time in the overworld. They're going to be focusing on that Leviathan arena, and they'll be buying alluvials off of the alluvidex to make sure they always have the edge. I also suspect that these type of players will spend a lot of time on Twitter showing off how much risk they're taking, their big wins, and even their big losses. There's nothing wrong with these type of players. I think they're necessary for the ecosystem, but I don't think too many people are going to fit into this category. So next we're going to get more into the type of players that are geared more towards Web 3. So we have the low risk invest, and that's what I'm calling the farm. So the farmer's main objective when playing Illuvium is to earn. These players are sometimes called grinders, and this is the category that scholars are going to fit in. These players will be investing a lot of time because they may not have the money, or they may decide they don't want to take any risk in the game, and that'll be their approach. These players will go to wherever the most yield is, and at this point in time, we don't know what part of Illuvium that is. If survival mode has the most yield, these players will gravitate over there. They might find the most yield in just farming resources from the overworld. I think these players are going to spend the most time in the overworld in renting or being scholars for Illuvium 0. Now the last category we have here are the high risk investors, and this is what I'm calling the metagamer. So I've seen the term metagamer thrown around a lot more as of recent. And I'm not sure if there's an actual definition for this, but in the realm of GameFi, the way I see a metagamer is someone who wants to get the most return out of their investment. These gamers will focus on the entire Illuvium economy, and they will naturally focus more and more time on whichever area of the ecosystem brings the most yield. Now, these players may find that they're getting the most return from using scholars who farm the overworld or play Illuvium 0. They might find that the most yield is coming from those competitive gamers, so they might be willing to load up a gamer's account with high-tier Illuvials and split the returns from the competitive play. These players are going to have spreadsheets for Illuvium 0 to know when they need to convert the fuel, when they need to sell it, when they should hold on to it. These are also the players who are going to tell you that they're not just in it for the money, and they may actually believe that. But I'll be the first to admit, what drives me to Illuvium and GameFi in general is the ability to make a return. I haven't played video games in almost 10 years because I couldn't justify the time. But with GameFi and games like Illuvium, where you can get a return, that's what drew me back in. And as much as I'm going to have fun and I'm going to try to be competitive, being this metagamer is really where my focus is going to be. So back to that original slide. The Olympic gold medalist of the decathlon is recognized as the top athlete in the world, but in reality, they're just the best at being average. So what did my professor mean when he said, well, in physiology, if you spend all your time focusing on making your muscles explosive, then the endurance capacity of those muscles is going to lack. If you spend all day running marathons, then you're likely not going to be able to jump over a high jump. So everything they're doing is fighting against each other. And you can also apply that to what I'm talking about in this video, in Web3 gaming. So these are just some charts that I made up about how you'd allocate your time and money. Now, the more money you have, the less time you need. The more time you have, the less money you need. But in general, it's going to be very hard to be at the top level of multiple of these categories. So here are just some examples I put together of how you can allocate your time and money in Illuvium, what it might look like. So you can see this one is focused on the metagamer, whereas your time and money allocated mostly towards that part of the chart. A metagamer may also be a gambler and farmer, but if they're focusing on just collecting and seeking enjoyment out of the game, then they're not going to have enough time to focus on getting a return from the game and what it really means to be a metagamer. In this example, we have a Funseeker. If they're out there having fun and enjoying the game, they might collect a little bit, they might farm a little bit, but these aren't the players who are going to be putting in a lot of money into the game and gambling or trying to get a return, because for some people that's just not fun. In this last example I have here is for the competitive athlete, and this is really the one that's going to be the most time intensive. So if you want to be the best of the best in esports and competitive play, then you're really not going to spend a lot of time out there just enjoying the overworld or collecting and farming alluvials. You're going to be focusing on being the best you can with the alluvials that you do have and that you're able to acquire. So I want to know what type of gamer you are. Are you going to be a fun seeker who's out there just for the entertainment and joy of the game? Are you going to be a collector where you're a completionist and you're trying to fill out your Illuvidex? Are you an esports athlete or that competitive gamer trying to be the best of the best with what you have? Are you a gambler and you're going to spend a lot of time in the Leviathan arena gambling some ETH and trying to acquire the best alluvials you can? Are you going to be a farmer or a scholar who's out in the overworld and grinding out resources? Or are you going to be like me and be a metagamer where your focus is to get the most return from your investment and looking at the overall economy and ecosystem in all aspects of Illuvium? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed putting this one together. Do me a favor and like and subscribe if you're not already. And that's it. I will see you in the next video.